I come over, we came to town, so they gave me new pods, which are Series 6. When I was there, I told her I had the new pods, and she gave me a Series 5. So I plugged that one in, go there. Oh, no. So the guy came over yesterday, he turned out, he put a 6 in, and then we went to work.
I think I can close this one. This is
They're
you.
just little things like that.
This is not a big. Yeah, minimize it so
It says live on here, but you can delete it.
I hit try. Yeah.
There we are.
This is the one that's on.
Okay, so should I, because I think the YouTube one, I'm gonna minimize this one.
You can when you're
yes.
recording.
Okay,
Can't you just leave it on and?
Mute it.
here, this one. So this is the YouTube on Edge.
Okay, now you're in.
There, perfect. Sorry about that.
You ready?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do you have any additions to the agenda?
You talking to me? Oh, yes, we have the boys from Vesterville here to come and talk to us. Is that okay if I call you guys now?
Sure. You call them worse. Especially villains. Amy?
No.
Chrissy?
We need to discuss the health insurance increase. Tanya will be coming in to do that. And what our options are. And then I'd just like to give an update, or Ernie and I probably can both, an update on the Region 4 caucus meeting. And Amy, she attended as well. So just an update on that.
I don't have, were you gonna get an update on the jail meeting we had?
Sure.
Yeah, okay, I'll do that when you're.
Don't I comment? Don't I comment?
Ernie.
Nothing.
We reviewed the minutes and the March 4, we haven't done them up to jail, so. We have a motion to approve the minutes in the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Employee time. We'll do the jail at this time.
Sure.
Morning.
Morning.
Yesterday, Denny, Adam and myself had a meeting with the Samuels Group. We met with Sid, Scott, and Tom. I'm glad we had Tom on the meeting because there is some discrepancies in the data from the jail that needs to be worked out, and we've decided that we are going to have a weekly meeting to make sure that this continues, so we can keep moving ahead with this process. So Tom's gonna get with Heather on Wednesday, and they're gonna try and figure out where the discrepancies are in the data and work on that. We also went over some preliminary drawings for the sites. Scott's still working on developing that, and also waiting for the data from Tom to figure out the size of the jail. So we're moving ahead, and I think it's a good thing that we're gonna have a weekly meeting to try and move this thing forward. So
We're going to go back to a full jail board monthly meeting. That's all.
I believe we will. Yeah. Yes, I believe we will. We want to make sure that we get the data first to Tom, and that moves ahead so they can develop a drawing for the jail itself. they are preliminarily, they are able to put that, the Barnes County site in our current campus here. So that is good news. That means that there's a possibility of using this current site for the new jail. There's some moving around of stuff that's gonna have to happen and, but that is good news. Scott didn't know if it would fit. It does. So they're gonna continue to work on the drawings and incorporating the new data from the jail to make a rendering of a drawing so we can show you guys, but that's at least the progress for now.
Was that, Mr. Chairman, will that include ample parking?
Well, they're working on that. It would include demolishing the current law enforcement center, and that would be all parking. And then they would use the parking from the Chase building, and we're looking for additional parking, possibly at the skate park, and using some of that property too.
Can you remind me how many beds is Barnes?
It is 47 beds, I believe.
Mr. Chairman. So in the plans of the jail, are they figuring in the cost of demolishing that parking lots and everything, or is it just the building itself?
I don't know that there's been any cost associated with it.
Okay.
They're just working on drawings right now.
It'd be nice to know how much it will cost us if we do it here, what it will cost us for a parking lot. And
There's substantial amount of dirt work done.
Yeah,
Tearing up everything, yeah, that's all,
that's all, you know, it's
yeah.
because of the building of the jail, it's gonna affect us.
The good thing about using this current site is the possibility of using the new jail to have the HVAC and the heating to use for both buildings, so. That would,
Security too.
And be included into the.
yes, the security part of it is a huge part. If there's going to be an off-site jail someplace else, they've also incorporated putting a garage up on site and elevators and a holding cell here at the jail, which would be a huge cost besides all the HVAC and the heating needs that the courthouse would have, so.
Mr. Chairman, I think the benefits of being able to locate the jail on site far outweigh everything else. I mean, it'd be great to have it here, like you said, for security, for, transporting prisoners. We already own the property.
Right.
So yeah, the fact that we'd have to do additional dirt work, it's still gonna outweigh the cost of having to purchase a site.
Yeah. We'd be able to tie in the emergency management center and the courthouse, all three of them would be tied in together.
That would be awesome.
Mr. Chairman, isn't our well out here someplace, or water deal for the,
Artesian well.
yeah, we'd have to move, or that would be affected by building over it, I'm sure.
It would, yes, so,
But can't we get away with that once we do this new, if we tie it in?
yes,
Cause I just thought of that, I said, it's over there, I don't remember exactly, but
that would be the plan, yes,
yeah, okay.
yeah.
And Mr. Chair, I mean, from a perspective, like you said, Christie, to be on site versus off site, well, this building still has needs. So I almost feel like if we have to, in a sense, if we can, because we're either doing a brand new building and what, 5.5 million for this building, or we're trying to combine and be more efficient with where we are.
There's a lot of pluses to the building on site. So we'll continue to work on developing that. And Sid and Scott and Tom have committed to weekly meetings. So we're gonna work on moving this process forward, so.
But we are also comparing to another site, just to have the comparison for the voters to look at. So we've got two choices to work with.
Mr. Chairman, I think that's why we meet as a full board. So all of us are included in those. If the public asks us questions and I'll say, I have no idea, I'm not in on it, that's not the answer, so.
Does the full board want to meet every week or just on a monthly basis?
Monthly basis would be enough.
Yeah, yeah. We'll continue to meet weekly with them,
And then more of an update.
Yeah, and then we'll have a full board meeting once a month.
Yeah, and have a Teams or something, so if, we're not able to make it, we can at least.
And Scott and Sid are fully on board with that happening. We wanted to get some of this preliminary stuff done before we bring it back. But yes, that is the plan.
Mr. Chairman, just so you're aware, Ron, we're gonna talk about this a little later, but we did have a Region 4 caucus meeting for the commissioners.
Okay.
And they talked about resolutions, and
Sure.
we did request that the jail funding gets added as one of the resolutions. We don't know if it'll go through or not, but, we did request it. We said, we're not the only county having problems and we need some help with funding, so just so you know that that was requested.
Sounds good.
We'll see if it actually goes through or not.
Any other questions for Ron?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to Jason.
A short list for you all today, which is rare for me.
Mr. Chairman, so Jason, we have some gentlemen here from Vestaville, and we'd like you to make sure that you stick around and tell us what you've done with that situation. I know there's a letter sent.
Should we move that up to the first?
Yeah, I don't know if you want to do that now, and then you guys can move on. So, do you want to tell Kelly Cole? Do you think she?
I don't think, do we need Kelly Croner? No, I don't think we do that.
Okay. Introduce themselves. Do you want to have them introduce themselves?
Yes,
Yeah.
yep. If you guys would please stand up and introduce yourself for the record.
My name's Herb Windsor. I live at 102 Carnegie Avenue in Vestaville. And so, yeah, I'm ready to make any statements or answer any questions you may have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Kurt Gala, 106 Carnegie Avenue, Vestaville, North Dakota.
Kurt again?
Kurt. Mike Gala, Vestaville, North Dakota.
Arthur Sanders, property owner, Vestaville, North Dakota, and rural Vestaville, North Dakota, mile out of Vestaville. Own 3 properties in Vestaville.
Okay. Where do we want to start?
I can start at the beginning for me. On May 23rd of this year, I was out doing some road inspections and Bill Sand was out there. And I saw all the information out there. Bill and I spoke on the 23rd of May about the right of ways and that he can store things out there. I've been out there and flagged it, put paint out there for him, so he knew where the 75-foot right of way was that goes through Vestaville, all of Vestaville, which also covers pretty much every building in town, except for the newer house on the northwest portion and the church. Otherwise, most of the structures in town that are right on number 8 are inside the right of way. The REC has a couple of transformers in the right of way that have been there. The first, Bill Sand's building, the first 10 feet of it is actually inside the right of way. It's not a new addition. The building's been there from as long as I can remember in the 90s. There hasn't been anything changed that way. But I had sent him a letter after we had our conversation, just as a follow-up, because at that point in time, he had 2 huge lathes that he was working on moving into the building, and they gave him 1 week to clean that up. He moved those inside, and from what I understand, everything is piling up out there again. I had one of the guys look through it. I had driven through, nothing was getting cleaned up. Yesterday, he got another letter sent to him, a certified letter this time telling, giving him 1 week to remove everything from the right of way. Because you can't leave the pallets and those type of things inside the right of way, it's a safety violation. So that's where I'm at. I gave Deputy Blake Levens a copy of that for his file from his investigations that he's doing. Talked to Kelly about it before I sent it to make sure it wasn't stepping on anything that she had going on, and she authorized it. So that's where we're at from the highway standpoint, from the right of way of what we've done. So.
Sure, you've gotten some complaints or filed complaints or?
Yes, Deputy Leeds has been working on accumulating statements. And if any of you have not given statements, you should. Blake's over at the sheriff's office right now. We're working with the state's attorney. I know there's somebody from the Department of Health coming up to do an inspection on that property. I think that's going to happen today. I would caution people that is Mr. Sands' property, and we need to stay off of his property. There has been a complaint by Mr. Sands about people trespassing on his property. I'm just gonna put that out there. But we are working with the state's attorney to, after the inspection is done by the health department, I think Kelly's going to work on seeing what options she has.
Do you guys want to make a statement? Yeah, go ahead.
So first of all, I'd like to thank the commissioners for taking this on, and anyone that's interested in this. Because I thank you for taking the time. So yes, you were right on par there. The biggest concern that we have, one of the biggest concerns is the health and safety part of the aspect. County Road 8 is a well-traveled road. And this is increased during the harvest time, of course, and during the planting, seeding time. And during that time, you have machinery coming through there, large machinery coming through there. You have trucks, loaded trucks, all kinds of equipment coming through there. Our concern is, especially when you're coming up on the Township Road 63 there to the intersection of County Road 8, and you look to the south, that's completely obstructed view. You can't see oncoming traffic. So we're concerned about our farm workers, our neighbors, our agricultural folks that farm there. I don't know if you've received any complaints, but it's just an accident waiting to happen. And the other concern we have, of course, is with the snow in the winter. With what's going on there right now with the all the vehicles parked in the right of way, and so that's gonna block up really bad this winter. And there's a number of us from Wesleyville that have to get to work every day. I have to go to Pembina. I work at Customs and Border Protection. I have to be there. I can't just call in and say, oh, the road's blocked, sorry, I can't be there. And it's also concern for access to emergency vehicles. If we have an emergency, my wife is handicapped, and if I have to call an ambulance, or we need the fire department or something to come out there, and they can't get access to our community because the roads are blocked, and they typically, they also block at the bridge. So I mean, there could be times where there's no access, emergency access. If we have a fire, it could jeopardize a lot of our properties because, you know, he's just across from the church. And if there's a wind, you know, we don't have any winds in North Dakota, right? I mean, that could easily start fires on our properties. And if we have no access to get the fire department out there because they can't get out there, that's really an issue and a problem. And the way he's got the property right now, it's not being mowed, it's not being cared for. So within a year or so, we're gonna have rats, we're gonna have rodents. And that's just not healthy for any community to be dealing with. So that's, I guess, all I have to say. I don't know if anybody else has any statements, but again, thank you. We do appreciate it greatly that you're taking this on. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything to add?
Pardon?
You have anything to add, Mike?
There's no logical reason why he should accumulate that stuff unless it's scrap or it's junk. It's an eyesore on our community. And I have, there's no reason for it. I mean, he was a Nash.
And we were aware of it.
Did he start the fire or somebody else started the fire? And does he have Tiger's Pits? Does he have two in Voss?
I've heard he has things in the warehouse in Boston.
I heard 2 bins. It's 2, but
It's a sickness.
Yeah.
It's a psychological sickness. He should get help and he should get rid of that junk. It's an infringement on our community. Thank you, that's all I gotta say.
Anybody else?
Yeah. So what we need to do is address the cleanup of the right of way, which he's working on, doing a good job. We have filed complaints that it's a mess, it needs to be cleaned. But we need to stay on it and say, well, we gotta check it every week.
Yeah.
You know, we gotta put a point to it to say, we need to put a time frame on it. He'll park a truck there for a week, and then we gotta make sure it's removed within that amount of time. Otherwise, it'll just keep coming and coming. And if he hauls in every week, a truck full and a trailer, which that's not unusual. So if we just keep an eye on it and try to stay on it, otherwise it's gonna build up again. And then for long term, we should have something to say to put a stop to it. On zoning, something.
We did have a zoning meeting here a month ago trying to address these issues, and as far as the timeframes, there's legal process that we have to follow through this, and I'm sure you understand that, and
Because I work for the state, I know
yeah,
how long it takes to do
Yeah.
something,
yeah,
to even get bids on anything,
yeah.
you know? And then the next thing is, yeah, it's what Herb said, all the fire stuff.
Yeah.
And I have been catching rats. So,
I have no doubt.
no, they don't take long.
Mr. Chairman, has he hauled anything out? Have you, I mean, is there
I
stuff
have
in
not
and out,
seen
or is it just
anything.
in?
Haven't seen anything.
There's a roll off there now. I don't know anything about that.
He's been filling that.
He has been.
I seen him put stuff in there. But that's still on the township right away.
There was a truck that he brought in there this weekend, that he brought in and parked on another person's property.
Well, do we know, is he buying that from Tom? Has anybody talked to Tom? Tom had mentioned he might sell that to him. And then that doubles the profit.
Yeah,
Tom,
more than doubles it.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have, you know, if we keep on the right of way, we have jurisdiction over it. You know, we can do something about that right now.
Yeah.
There's a Corvette there. I don't know if there's a person there. It comes and goes. It's there overnight. There's some beater trailer that he must stay in if he does, but.
Oh, and I've also heard he's been using the church's bathroom.
Well, that's another thing, there's no facilities in there.
Yeah, I heard that too.
As far as running water or like, well, there's some electricity, but there's no bathrooms in there, I don't believe. So, and he stays there, like you say, sometimes 3-4 days at a time. Where is he going to the bathroom? What's going on there? I mean, there's
He
no
just
facility.
also brought in what do you call them? Storage container?
Storage container.
Okay, there's a storage container he brought in, unloaded it, and now he's moved it next to the building. And we believe that might be his place of where he's gonna stay.
He hauled in a load of coal here this week too, so I don't know what he's gonna do with it.
Does he pick on towns that haven't got charters? If he went into a, you know, like, I heard something about Edinburgh, but I think they have enough population to have a town charter.
Yeah, I know Adams we just attended a meeting last night about the ordinances that they enforced, 5 years ago, for much of the same problem that you're dealing with. But, yeah, now the city council is being sued by this individual for discrimination because they're picking on them.
I think you need psychological help.
There's no doubt, but there again, we run into that private property rights that we all have to respect until we can get this worked out through some kind of ordinance. And when the cities like Vestal give up their zoning rights, it falls back onto the county, and then for better or worse, it gets more difficult.
I know at that planning and zoning, Danny mentioned that we're looking at changing some of this. It's a process, and Grand Forks changed theirs, it's in like an abatement. And I know it's not for sure, but Kelly's looking into something like that. So once we get this initial problem, we are gonna probably go and change that too. So it's, and like you said, there's a process there, but I know that is in the future. And how long it'll take, who knows, or what channels we gotta go through. But Grand Forks somehow changed theirs, and we're sort of looking at theirs to see if we can use this, as she showed us what they had changed. So that's a decision.
But the right of way issue, we can deal with.
Right.
We have to deal with that.
Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
So, Sheriff Jurgens, do they have to file a complaint every time something's in the right of way, and then that has to go through a process? Is there anything that can be done where if he's on that right of way, he can be ticketed or something like that? Is it always this process, and then you send a letter and then it's a week, and then he gets a week to, I mean, it's an ongoing thing, and pretty soon winter's gonna be here, and what can be done?
Jason, do you have anything to speak to that?
You have to give them the opportunity to remove anything that they put in the right of way. We can't just go
Each time,
each time.
and I
Whether
understand
it's a
nobody
hay
can.
bale that
Yeah.
falls off of a truck or a piece of equipment, each time we have, that they do something to the instructions, we have to give them a letter to let them know.
And what kind of time frame do they have?
There's
nothing set in stone?
There's nothing set for the stones that they have, so I've heard that he doesn't live in the area.
I thought he lived here.
Well, he lives here in Grafton, but works out of town, from what I understand, he works in Minot, so I don't know.
Mr. Chairman,
Who has the
So-
timeframe?
so if a letter was sent out yesterday, Monday,
Certified mail for a adult to sign.
okay, so then that letter is delivered? Or is
I
it,
don't know.
If you can find them.
Well.
that's where I'm getting,
We won't know till after the return receipt comes back, right?
and, but it's through the mail?
Yes.
I've never gotten a letter like that, so, okay, so and what's his mailing address? It's not Vestibule, is it?
It's Laverne and Grafton.
Okay, it's in Grafton here. And he might get that letter, well, if he's working out of town, he might get that letter on Friday and then he's got a week, and then it accumulates more.
Yeah.
You see where I'm getting? I know it's a process, but I guess we're just telling you this is all we can do. It's part of the law, the ordinances, the zoning. I don't know what else. And I would advise nobody to go on his property unless he's there and talking to him, because you will have charges against you, I'm assuming.
You ain't got no room to walk on.
Well, I understand that, but I mean,
So what happened to his property in Grafton? Was it over, did they,
in Grafton,
yeah,
No.
yeah, Sands over here.
well, he sold that though too. That's sold to another company. That's been quite a while ago, probably,
Midwest manufacturing.
yeah, probably close to 10 years now, but.
It's probably up in Nash, that turns into a township issue because they retain their zoning rights. And so there's nothing we can do with the Nash problem, it's their township problem there.
Does he still own that property in Nashville?
I don't know.
I believe so, yes.
I guess, Mr. Chairman, I'm glad you guys came here today, but I don't know that we as a commission can do anything. It's in the hands of the law enforcement now till.
Or Virgil, I mean.
Oh,
Well, unless you wanna, you're, Mike, we have no room at the jail, so don't do anything.
No room at the
You wouldn't fit in there.
Yeah, don't. It just gives fuel to the fire, and we wanna do everything the right way.
Yeah, so he claims he's going to be doing manufacturing there.
Is it
The
zoned?
place, for one thing, isn't, it doesn't have the infrastructure to do any manufacturing there. I mean, if it's gonna be a manufacturing facility, doesn't it have to have a fire inspection to make sure that it's suitable for that?
So
Or an electrical inspection?
we'd have to wait till he files for that permit,
Okay,
you know,
because that's what he's telling you.
yeah.
And as far as zoning goes, can you have a manufacturing facility in a residential area without zoning it appropriately, or taxes, or how does that work?
That would probably come back to your planning and zoning. And I don't know if without, I just got on there, then he's been there, we're really new, but I don't know how.
Because I think he says is to get the foot in the door. He says he's gonna open, because he invited me in. I went to talk to him one time. He invited me in there and he showed me the lathe and everything. And I said to him, well, what does all this other stuff that you have accumulating out here have anything to do with your manufacturing that you're gonna do in here? And he said, oh, well, I'm gonna clean all that up. That's the typical.
That's his line.
And then like last night, and I know he's watching us very carefully, because last night, I always go for a walk in the evening. I went and walked down that gravel road, and I was coming back, and his son is also over there working with him. And his son took the pickup, and I knew it was gonna be a confrontation. And I was walking down the road, the pickup came out of the yard and came to meet me on the road. And he stopped and he says, what are you doing? And I said, I'm just taking a walk. And he said, oh, well, good, have a good walk then. But the real reason is he wanted to see who I was. So I mean, is harassment going, we have not harassed him in any way. Any pictures that we have taken have been office property.
Yeah.
But I know I heard the call that the kid made the night to the Walsh County Sheriff's Department. And I put two and two together because we had a big issue that he had parked a truck on Mr. P's property. And so I called Mr. P and said, have you allowed anyone to park a truck or a vehicle on your property? And he said, no. And so we kind of had some calls to the Walsh County Sheriff's Department about it. And the way I understand, Mr. P didn't file a formal complaint. And so it had to be a civil action between Mr. P and Mr. Sand. But that night I heard the kid, because I happened to be outside taking the dog out, and he was standing right there at the corner, and he was talking to the Sheriff's Department. And I thought, I put two and two together, and I thought, he's filing a complaint against us, that's what he's doing. But I mean, that can go both ways then, because last night I was just taking a walk, and I shouldn't be harassed if I'm taking a walk, right? So he's watching very carefully what's being done there. So I would totally agree, we need to stay off the property and don't give him any excuse to.
If anything does come up, we're gonna get blamed.
If anything, I'm sure if something happens to his equipment over there, he's gonna be on the phone saying somebody did something to his equipment. I can foresee that coming.
Well, he can say that, but he has to prove that. You guys are more than welcome to take all the pictures you want if you're not on his property, right? If you're driving down the road, you can stop and take pictures. There's nothing, no law precluding you from doing that.
I did this morning.
Okay,
There's a law against, let's say, putting that out into the public in any way? I'm just curious, what's the law on that? What if a guy takes a picture of somebody's mess and puts it on Facebook and names the person's mess?
You know, I'm not a lawyer, right? I would say that you want to be careful using people's names. You can say that, you can put it out and say that.
Put the address and then the owner's public information.
I would be careful about putting the owners, it could be a form of harassment, and you wanna be careful of that, putting it out in the media. But I'm not a lawyer, you would want to check with the legal counsel if you have any questions on that, but I taking pictures of stuff and putting it out saying, look at the mess in Veselyville, I don't know that is harassment.
I feel for you guys, man, it's a problem.
Okay, so can you explain to me what the process is after we get this right away cleaned up? What's the process after that? We have to write a letter to the sheriff's department. What do we gotta do?
We're looking at that zoning ordinance, trying to
Right.
take that away, but
Most of the lions in the zoning,
yeah,
planning and zoning.
planning and zoning, but it's a slow process.
But before that, if the state health department or Grand Forks are coming out to look at it, and Kelly, they can probably press some charges too against him that clean it up, or you got so much down, we're gonna haul it away. That's, I think, the first thing before we change our ordinance is what Kelly was looking at, and you gotta be careful how you do that, because like Ron said, it's his property. But they're looking at, that's why they got the health department there, if they can deem it, unhealthy,
Hazard.
then they can go further with some other charges and give them, say, and I don't know how many, 30 days, 60 days to clean it up. If you don't, then something can be done, but that's what takes time, is because, how long ago was our meeting when we talked about getting the state health department in 3 weeks?
Oh, at least.
Yeah, no, our zoning meeting, about 3 weeks ago, so, it's a slow process, but you gotta dot your Ts and Ks, so when you get to that point, you can do something about it. So I know that's ongoing.
Okay, so after it's cleaned up the right way, which it should be in
Hopefully.
maybe. So when he goes to put something else back, we have to write a complaint
Yeah.
again,
Yes,
So,
Every time.
every time.
yes.
Okay.
yeah,
I'm ready.
Well, it just is,
No, I-
we all know on what to do
yeah.
legally and,
Mr. Chairman, Kurt, do you don't have pictures of the rats you caught, do you?
no, he needs psychological.
I would though, I mean, from a health perspective, if you can prove things that way, I mean, I really think the health hazard could be the fastest way to be able to get that, and I guess I wasn't aware that Fee's property is potential, that would be the worst thing that could ever happen. I mean, this is awful, but look at what Nash, I went to school there, I mean, it's part of why I got in the commission, because I did not want this stuff to happen, that whole area that we had as our playground became what, a junkyard. The more space that can be open, so I thought that house was sold, I didn't know that was still a possibility.
Karen,
Yeah, Fee's shop, you mean?
The shop.
Oh, it's the shop, not his
Yeah, Tom
home.
Fee's shop. Yeah, no, the home is sold,
Okay.
but Tom Fee's shop, which is,
Right next
yeah,
door.
there is a utility easement in between them. But
Okay.
So how close is the closest neighbor to the south?
That's the shop.
Right across the road. No.
No, who lives,
south.
who lives,
south,
who lives,
Tom Fee's shop is directly south
okay,
of
and then who
Hosea.
lives south of that?
Either.
Yeah, on the outside of the drainage.
Does he ever see any rodents around there? Does he like the idea of all that stuff over there?
I highly doubt.
We've had a lot.
Do you guys talk to him at all?
Oh, yeah.
Because I mean, if I lived there or across the street, even where your dad lives, I'd be like,
Gives my dad something new to look at all the time.
well, yeah, I know.
Well, the lady that bought Tom Fee's house, her curtains are closed all the time.
Okay,
Sure, Lou Sheffelkowski lives kind of directly kitty corner across the road, and I think
he wrote a letter, we have his letter here, so,
but how about like for the fire inspection? I mean, does he have to meet certain fire code to have that place over there? Because it really puts our properties in jeopardy.
Not that I'm aware of.
till he files for a permit and stuff like that, he doesn't have to do anything, does he?
Not that I'm aware of.
Just
The storage.
Is it zone commercial? Is it zone for business? I mean, it once
It
was.
used to be, I don't know,
Yeah, I don't know.
zoning's already more.
If it once was, it probably still is.
Yeah.
Because I have commercial property, the old schoolyard.
I suppose, yeah. Yeah, that
Okay,
makes sense.
oh, that's too bad.
If you're
Okay.
catching the rats, you should take a picture and give us a call. 'Cause we
John, put it on.
No, I don't want, I don't
Mr.
want.
Shuffletusky to ask him to take pictures, because he said he's been catching,
Right.
yeah.
Gophers, we've caught a lot of gophers this year in Wesleyville,
Oh,
we've
yeah.
never had any troubles with before, so the rodents are moving in. It's just a matter of time where the rats will really start to.
Well, all I can say is we're working on it.
I got,
And very aware of it, and I appreciate you guys coming in, taking the time to come in and voice your opinions, because it does carry some weight.
When's the next planning and zoning meeting? Because that's really who this is all gonna land on, isn't it? Commissioners can't really do a whole lot.
We don't have one scheduled, but
We're sort of waiting to see what she, you know,
we should get pushing on Kelly.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things, if you drag your feet, it just, the problem gets larger.
Yeah.
We'll try to keep you guys informed when that next zoning meeting is.
You got a good connection on John. I don't know where he gets it.
well, we know there's a problem there. We gotta get it cleaned up before the winter.
Yes.
So we're not dragging our feet. We're just waiting to see what she finds out, and then we'll move forward.
No, I get it, yeah.
Yeah. Hope we can help you.
Thank you.
it would be a lot better if everything was off the right of way.
Yeah,
Everything,
yeah.
you know,
County plow's gonna love
It'd
it.
be a lot better if there was nothing.
right.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question in regards to that. What, can't we get more teeth into our letters that we send on these right of way areas, these easement areas? Why is it just a warning and, oh, get it off, and then another warning and, oh, get it off? What can we do?
Century code.
It's, there's
In the
nothing that
century
can be
code,
done.
you have to give them an option to move it, and then if they don't meet their timeframes to move those items, then you can go and remove them and charge them the cost. But
Well,
you
then I
can't
think
charge
that's
them
what we
again.
need to start doing. I think we need to be on top of it and go out there and remove it and send the bill to him.
Well, we almost have to have a picture because.
According
it
to that,
changes.
it's, he has to pay for it.
Yeah, you put it on their taxes, and if they don't pay their taxes, it gets put on the assessments,
Just like,
just like culverts or mowing the roadside or any of those other things.
Why does it have
But
to
there's
be
no
that,
teeth to it.
why does it have to be that specific item? I mean, if he continually is bringing items in, item after item after item.
That's what he'll do too.
But it says in the century code item, it doesn't, so you almost. To me, it's more of a zoning thing, being it's in Wesleyville than a right away, because it's in town. I mean, mainly because you have the houses and everything else that are all inside the right of way. Obviously, we're not telling them to move the housing. I mean, it's,
Right.
I mean, that's, but at the same point in time, you got REC transformers that were put in a lot newer than that are inside the right of way. So which point are we starting and stopping?
yeah, it's just gonna be.
That's oranges.
In these right of ways, it's no different than somebody coming digging in our right of way or doing anything in our ditches. We can warn them, change it, tell them to put it back, but there's really no fine we can do. I always said, you know, there's no teeth to our right of way hardly at all. There isn't because of century. To me, it's that, I mean, I don't know.
To me, the way this reads is, if there's encroachment, he has 20 days to get it cleaned up. If he doesn't clean it up, then we go out and we remove it and we charge him. I don't see where it says it has to be a specific item. If they're encroaching, they're encroaching, but I think until we hit him in the pocketbook, we're not gonna see, he's just gonna keep doing it.
And we're telling them they got a week, they're saying 20 days.
They're saying 20 days.
So.
But if they don't after 20 days, you go clean
Then
it
we
up.
go clean it up
No
and
matter what it is.
we don't.
Did you get an
We need to
interpretation?
start hitting them in the pocketbook.
Did you get an interpretation from Kelly on this century code?
She and I'll talk more about it.
See what she thinks about it. If we got the right to go out there and do something, let's do it.
Thank you.
Keep me in touch, Jason.
You want the rest of it?
Sure. I can look it up too, but
But see, on the junkyards, it does not, it's not a state highway.
That's where the zoning comes in. We gotta do
Yeah.
some tweaking and.
You can keep all these.
And that was part of when we talked about the maintenance and everything like junkyards.
Yeah.
And our planning. and zoning.
Unauthorized junkyards,
Yeah.
1,000 feet of the right of way.
Yeah.
But it's gotta be a state highway.
But
But
see, that's where we were heading with the abatement and maybe changing it to the county is we can maybe follow that.
Yep.
it doesn't have to be a state highway.
Oh, doesn't have to be? Okay, good.
So we might be able to pursue that.
I would check with Kelly and see what our rights are and maybe move forward if we can. Now, does that cover does that cover him not getting the letter?
The thing with that one is with that 1,000, with the unauthorized junkyards within 1,000 feet, that's all county roads.
Yeah, we talked about that.
And now you're opening up to everybody.
Yeah.
Well,
We gotta start somewhere.
there should still be that,
It's in the century code.
Why don't you need a complaint from somebody before you really go out and do something? Yeah,
I would say,
it's
yeah.
touchy.
That's a fine line.
I would check with Kelly and see where they're
Yeah.
standing.
Yeah. Well, thank you, guys.
Who is Kelly?
Kelly Full, our state's
Our
attorney.
state's attorney.
She's in Bismarck?
No, she's here.
Here, upstairs.
Yeah, it's a problem. The Nile is not only a river in Egypt. You need
Oh,
help.
Mike feels.
We can't determine that though, Mike.
All right, thank you, guys. We're gonna have to move on here.
Thank you.
Denny.
5-minute break. Is back to Township Assistance Program extended. That was that, deal that had that deadline right?
Right, it was, they extended the deadline, so now the townships have 2 more weeks to get it in.
Do you have much interest in that?
One more application.
How many-
So it's due on October 6th, the finals, before they can get things in. We had a couple of townships that have put in for bridges, and I'm expecting one other township to put in for a bridge. The one township that put in for a bridge, it's $1 million project, they've asked for $500,000, so I don't know where the rest of that money would come from. It's only a $10 million pool, so the chances of getting that, I'm guessing that's why they put in for 500,000, but I don't know where the other 500,000 is gonna come from. And before that was submitted, I talked to them about that. It's a project that the water board, myself and American Crystal had already spoken about before with our Tyler Bridge down there. But I don't know where that one's gonna come into fruition, but if they do get that, then we're gonna have another problem of finding where the next $500,000 comes from. And being the county owns the bridge, I don't know, but I had to submit that because that's what they wanted and that's their application. I can't change them. So, I talked to another township about putting in something, but I haven't seen anything from them yet. So I don't know if they're actually going to or not. They're gonna have a meeting about some stuff. Just kind of waiting on them. I've sent out plenty of emails from it. The Township Association has fired off a lot of emails on it, and I'm not expecting to get too much more interest from townships, honestly, on it. I've talked to a few and recommended them going after large culverts that cost a lot of money, but I haven't seen anything come through my desk in a week, so. Still waiting, but just want to make sure that you are all aware of that and put it back out one more time for the townships. And we have 2 weeks to get it into me, so we can get it in, and apply for it.
So what did you say the deadline was?
October 6th, I have to have it entered into the system. So basically, they need to get it to me in 2 weeks, so I have time to get it in the system. Depending on the application, it can take anywhere, in the program, it can take anywhere 45 minutes to get it all to go and sync for each one. So, and by the September 30th, they have to have all our FEMA stuff done, so that is my main priority right now for the rest of the week after I got these other things. So that's where I gotta work on. So we have that, and we have, so I guess that's the Township Assistance Program in a nutshell. We got 2 more weeks to figure out projects that they can send in for us. It's $10 million pool for everything from the different county engineers I've spoken to a couple weeks ago. There's not much for applications in this, I only talked to a handful, but with a $10 million pool, it doesn't go very far when you're looking at larger projects as well. If it would have been split between all the townships, each township in the state would have only gotten about $7,000, a little over that. So.
How that FEMA money come in? I mean,
From 2022, all the FEMA money has come in, except for some of the things that we're working through with protests. I'm still working on that with townships, to try and clean up that. We're trying to get more money for some of those townships from those things. 2023, none of the money has come in. They haven't started working on any of the township stuff. They're working on some of the county's things, and we're still waiting for information from all the townships on FEMA for 2023 as well. Some of them have their initial things in, but we don't have their final projects, we don't have their bills, we don't have where the materials came from, we don't have their invoices, their material cost sheets, where if they had a culvert go, where did their culvert go to, the standard list of things that we need to get from them. So I will have to be making phone calls on that this week as well, to push to people and tell them you have 2 weeks to get your information. So that's my afternoon, is calling townships and saying you have 2 weeks to get me your stuff, or you're not going to be able to get any funding for it. Because they're not going to give us an extension. I doubt. So they're hounding me with phone calls on a daily basis looking for information. So, and then I have some township or some utility permits to bring in today. most of all of them are from NODAC. One for Rushford County, or Rushford Township, Bonner County 15. That was the one last session that they had that said ops, but the range and everything said Eden, and it was actually supposed to be in Rushford. So they redid that one. They submitted, NODAC also has an application permit for boring underneath the intersection of 9 and 12 on both the east and west side of the intersection. The borders will go north-south. And then on number 8, where we have our bridge project, they have to move their power line. So they have a utility permit request in for that one as well for signatures.
So there's just the 4 of them?
Yeah, I put 5 of them.
Yeah, okay.
I'll make a motion, we were, NODAC utility permits.
A second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Further discussion? Further discussion, if not, we'll call for a motion to approve. Well, we already did that. We'll call for a vote. All right.
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
That's all, yes.
Last thing on my agenda for you all today is Tarek Shanlike drainage permit request. He's looking to do so, working on number 8 inside our right of way. He was also asking the permit for the request of adding a culvert. From talking with the water board downstairs, we're not going to approve the culvert or increasing on the dike at this point in time. We are going to look at adding a culvert in that intersection. It's the intersection that Ernie and I have spoken with. We're working with KLJ for hydraulics in there to see what we can do for that, and that'll change some things up.
Are you talking about adding it or just moving that other one that's further to the south?
Adding.
So there'd be 3 then? Okay, because that's a bottleneck there.
Yeah, we'll be looking at adding on the south side so we can help with that bottleneck.
This year I thought we were gonna lose the road there because it was getting so high.
And I think with just adding that one or increasing the size that we have in that intersection, that'll release some of the pressure off the other one that's down in the field as well. So
And that'll help them out here, just their drainage too.
Yeah, because where they wanted to build, increase their dike for their field was right there in that corner. To keep the water out of the township off the field. So.
In that field,
So.
there, there's small pieces there, you can see by the shoulder belts, that goes back west, that fills up so much that it's over half of that land is full of water. And it's just because there's 2 small culverts, and then that other one, like I said, is like a detour, it just goes. Yeah, that should help.
So I think just adding one or increasing the size of that one will help us, but I have to have KLJ take a look at my draws standpoint first.
Well, if you look to the west, there's 3 at the corner of where our farm used to be, there's 2 where the sort of the driveway is, and there's 1 on the corner. It doesn't make sense.
Mr. Chairman, so then this request is basically just for ditch cleaning?
Yes, yeah, that's what we're gonna authorize, just the ditch cleaning.
Okay, I would make a motion then that we approve the application for ditch cleaning for Tarek Shanlike.
Second.
Further discussion? Further discussion, I'll call for the vote, Ernie?
Yes.
Christie?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Permit is approved. Do you have anything else for Jason?
I guess we could, Christian, and Amy could probably add, when we had our caucus meeting, we have a resolution hopefully coming that we get more money east here for our roads and bridges because of our agriculture project and everything's getting bigger. So they're gonna work on it. So to let you know that, remember last meeting I asked if we could probably do something. Aaron Burst said they were gonna write up a resolution, and I'm gonna call them and make sure that we can see it before the convention. But yeah, we need, and they're aware of it, but it's just, I basically stated that because of our agriculture and the bridges are getting old and undersized, we need help on the eastern part of the state. Well, probably throughout the whole state.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, we also did request a resolution for the bridge inspections for them to review the state inspections or how the state dictates what engineering firm is going to do our inspections. So we did ask for a resolution on that as well. Now, we don't know if they'll actually go through or not, but we did request it.
Regarding the funding, yeah, we could use it locally, because like we said, we told them that they inspected, they don't tell us how, and then we gotta hire KLJ to go out there anyhow. And they know our budget, so.
Yeah, so basically we requested that we can use our own engineering firm, but we still get the funding.
The state funding.
The state funding portion.
We'll see what happens.
Mr. Chairman, so I'm on a resolution meeting tomorrow morning. And they will have brought those resolutions back to our committee and then they'll go. to
Will
the
we get them done that quick, you think? I don't know how long it takes.
Yeah, because we have to have them ready for October 8th.
Yeah.
So we have our last meeting tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
By Zoom, yeah. Just for those probably ones that are added.
If you see them or hear them, let us know, Karen, how they work them or something.
Yeah, I don't know that will.
Do you have a lot of resolutions being brought forth?
You guys saw those resolutions, that it's those plus added, and then we will be voting on them that at the, at the convention. So I don't see any reason why they wouldn't be put on, so.
Very good. Thank you guys for doing that. Anything else on that?
You wanna go over all the Region 4 caucus now?
Yeah, might as well.
Or, I had one question for Jason, Mr. Chairman. Could we get an update on Palmy? Were you able to have any discussions with them after our last meeting?
I have not had discussions with Susan other than just general items for making sure she's getting things cleaned up.
So we're letting them work the 250 some hours a
I've talked
month
to
and.
talked to her again about making sure she's itemizing everything down so I can actually see what she's working on.
What about limiting the hours? I mean, we can't just let them run with 250 hours each in a month, can we?
When do we close Hommy up for camping?
November.
November.
Well, I guess.
It's always been that way.
What's always been that way? Oh, you mean when we
When we're
close it
open
up?
and closed,
Yeah, okay.
One of the things with their hours is it's that huge pile that they had of wood chips. There's about 20 cubic yards of material, or 15, 20 cubic yards of material there. They moved all that stuff with 5-gallon pails. They don't have any other way to move that stuff into the playgrounds to address things. They don't have the equipment to do it with a skid steer. We only have one skid steer for the county. That's what the highway, for the road guys, they're using that all the time. There's not another bucket small that we can take in there and use them. We just got our tractors. They're out mowing. One of those has a loader. That's all working on ditches. So
I guess my question would be, Jason, 40-hour work week is a normal work week. Do we have some kind of special agreement with them where they can put in more than a 40-hour work week, or are we paying them all this overtime? Because that's a budget buster.
we're paying them overtime to get things taken care of, to get caught up.
No, we're getting took.
So,
Yeah.
We're getting took.
Mr. Chairman, I would say in the future, you write a work order for the whatever bucket, whatever equipment needs to be done to spread those wood chips, if that some kind of work. Because, well, sure they are now, but that would take you maybe 2 hours to do that.
So.
Well, I've seen the pile, it's been there for 2 years, so I
It's
mean,
only been there for 1 year. It was delivered last year.
when last year.
Well, anyway, that's.
I'm just
that
saying,
is done,
yeah.
But we need to somehow.
Curb their hours.
Hours, because I agree. We're not seeing the work done for 200+ hours.
Per employee, there was 2 employees that had over 250 hours, and then the other employee had 160? Or I don't remember.
If they can't document it and give me a good reason why they did it, then I would say maybe I'm not paying you. If they're gonna spend that many, they better have good documentation that they really did something.
That place should be immaculate.
Immaculate, and it's not, so something's wrong here.
Yeah.
And we haven't talked to them, so we're still allowing them to work the 250 hours or however many hours they want to work. We should be limiting them to 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
I agree. I do not think we should be paying them overtime. There's 3 people out there, if they can't take care of that
In 40 hours.
in 40 hours, something's wrong.
It's 120 hours a week of work.
No. There's, can be hard pressed to find 40 hours worth of work.
Exactly, for 3 people.
Yeah.
We'll just stop and let her know that cap is 40.
Will do.
And we wanted to see
Document more.
something done for those 40 hours per employee.
Anything else for Jason?
Bridges come on?
Come on. One eight, they about had the main shell done last week's, number 6 is open. So, Ryan and the guys are working on a replacement of one in Harrison Township right now. And hopefully that'll be open by the end of this week, the small one that went under.
Is that one another one?
No, it's between Harrison Township and 8 and 17. It's right here for a flow, so that when we had that 1 5-foot culvert coming for the bridge in Walsh Center that was demolished, we were the second one to fill the semi, and that was our second. So that 5-foot by 40-foot spare we had is no longer a spare. We don't have anything of that size anymore. So if another one of those small bridges goes down, it'll be a 2 to 3 week to get one of those to come in for $7,000 a piece.
So Jason, I got an email yesterday about a bridge in Golden Township.
Which one? There's two of them.
21-157-56, and it's from Teresa Geary.
Oh, she called me too.
Yeah,
The bridge?
Huh?
yeah. Bridge is located on a well-traveled gravel road in good
That's the
condition.
one that got closed.
Yeah, where's
There's two
that
that
at?
got closed. There's two that got closed
A
and
mile west of the Bible camp.
Yeah. So this bridge got closed and this bridge got closed on the 7th of September.
So
They're both
just
Pony
got-
Trust bridges. Yeah,
Okay.
they're just closed on the 7th of September. They both have critical, from the time they were here from the last inspection to this inspection, somebody took equipment through it and bounced it off of both sides of the bridge and cracked things. For those Pony Trust bridges, as soon as you get to a certain spot and crack, it's closed. Otherwise, you're looking at an I-35W.
What's that?
That's the
A collapse.
Minneapolis collapse.
Yeah, Minneapolis collapse. And there's no way it's the hot rivets and the steel you can't weld them, you can't do the hot riveting, so, or SOL.
how much time can they look and what can I tell them? Just indefinitely?
I don't know, yeah, they're gonna come down for replacements.
Is the township got say on both of them?
I had talked to Al Sebo about them when the day that they closed and told them that they may need to pick one to see what they can do. And that's the township I'm waiting to see if they get any applications on.
That mile, they're that close, I don't think we can afford to do both.
No.
One sort of a dirt road anyhow, really, or
Yeah.
a minimum maintenance, let's call it.
It's tight.
Yeah.
And the other one's a mile
Yeah.
32. So it's, they're both over 20 feet, and they're both 100 years old.
Well, one was built in 1914, the other one was built in 1918. So they're both over 100 years old. Neither one of them was built for what we have, and I'm sorry, but somebody drove down
Yes.
and caught every vertical piece through the bridge.
Really?
They had to know they were hitting it. Had to.
Of course, they didn't want to stop. They wanted to just keep going.
Well, why would you stop? Because
Well,
if
right.
you did the damages, then you're liable for it.
Mhm.
Once he got in there, he probably couldn't back
That's what
up,
I
so
mean.
he had to go.
He had to go.
You know, it's, and there's no way to catch them
No,
to do these things, you know, it just. When they hit and they split, there's nothing we can do about it.
I got called from both Al and Jim about it.
And, you know, both are bridges. So the cheapest one we have right now, depending on the size, you know, look at the aluminum box culvert that we're doing on 8. Just the aluminum box culvert itself is $553,000 plus. That's just the aluminum, that's just the materials.
Yeah.
To build it is on top of it. Between the aluminum box culvert on 8 and 6, it's 1.1 million.
Wow.
For the supplies.
Yeah, that was the two pictures I,
Built.
that was the two pictures I showed you, that's what those cost.
The aluminum culvert on number 6 was $250,034. The one on 8 is $553,310. That's just for the materials to build them. Then you double it for your installations and your backfill and everything else that goes through. And on number 6, we're gonna have a change order that comes on that because of the amount of fill that we had to take out and sediment that was in there. That filled in underneath that bridge. That was never adjusted or cleaned, so we have all that stuff, that'll be a change order on top, that we will be fitting the bill for that one. So,
Well, and these 100-year-old bridges in Golden, we know that is not probably going to get done this year, correct?
there's, I don't have $1
I mean,
million in the
no,
budget.
we don't,
DOT
I
doesn't have,
mean,
we don't have,
No.
there's nothing coming that I'm aware of right now for more funding from DOT.
yeah,
And all the bridges we're being replaced
Yeah.
are all through DOT funding.
Yeah.
None of the other bridges that we're replacing are through our budget. We can't afford to replace a bridge on our budget.
No, I think there's 2 bridges on that other road where that bridge got closed, wasn't there?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, yeah, so there's a small one and there's the big one that actually got closed. Yeah.
So you called, when you talked about bridges, you called me, I'll call it the Miller Bridge where the board's let loose. We're talking about getting rid of that thing because they're out there, how many times this year? 4 or 5?
We've gone there 4 times this year, so it's on our hit list.
We're thinking of a culvert. Do we have a culvert that big?
No.
I don't know what that is.
that's, yeah.
We're gonna have to do hydraulics to take a look at. We're out there 4 or 5 times for that one. There's another one by Forest River. We're out there a minimum of 5 times a year. But we have to keep going out there to take care of them. And it's gonna do it. And a lot of things, honestly, is and I'm not picking on farmers. I know it's harvest, but slow the damn things down.
That's what loosens those spines up in the hands, that speed.
Yeah.
Slow them down. And the speed limits have been set forever on those roads. And we need to slow them down. They're bounce off them, and if you're feeling yourself bounce that semi across it, you're doing damage. You're destroying planks, you're popping them off. The guys have done some stuff, extra things to try and curb the one south of Tim Rodriguez so we can get through. But I'll guarantee you, come beats, I'm gonna have to send somebody out there at least twice more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last year on one of the bridges, we were out there 4 times during harvest.
Set up. Car out there.
If they didn't.
Yeah, like in Boss.
Well, anything else for Jason? No, thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
They're mowing?
They're mowing.
Okay.
Christie, do you have more to add on that caucus?
Look at my notes. They did discuss at that meeting about the PERS system, the retirement system. They said it'll be cut off January of 2025.
2025.
Yeah, not 2024 like they originally talked. They said the reason for that is they said well, Karen, you can probably attest to this, but they said the legislatures were quite shocked when they found out this is really a 3-year transition, that you can't just transition from one retirement to another quickly. It's a 3-year transition. So they're trying to work through all that. That's one thing they mentioned. They asked about the 911, the siren funds. They want that all to go to, they think to streamline it, it would be best to have it all go through NADACO.
The county association, yeah.
Yeah, the county association. So they asked if we would sign the joint powers agreement to allow them to handle this. So the money would all go to them and then they would cut the checks, which sounded like a much, much better method.
It is.
So I don't know, Christie, if anybody has contacted you through them or?
No, not yet.
Okay, I'm
They
assuming
did
it'll be
talk
coming.
about it at the auditor convention.
Okay, this I thought was really great. They have hired, the association has hired 2 grant companies to look for grants for all counties in the state. So we have 2 companies out there checking for grants. If they find something that would pertain to, say, our county, they would notify us and then we would continue.
It's
from there.
mostly federal money.
Right, but so probably with highway or.
Yeah, well, it could have been other things too, he said, though. It wasn't limited to highway. Was it AE2 and what was the other, more? I think they did 2 companies.
I don't remember the names.
So that was a good deal for us.
Yeah, and then just, I know those resolutions that we've already talked about, the 3 that we added from our
Yeah.
county.
And the only other thing is they talked about, social services regional deal.
Yes, that,
And everybody was quiet the first time I come around, and then I'll say Christie added to it, and we all sort of did that. We're not really satisfied with what's happening to our kids and the services, so they got sort of not an earful, but we just told them that we just didn't know if the services were as good as they are.
We said we're leaving our children behind.
Right.
You know,
They know
basically, they're not
all
getting,
about it.
Yeah, well, we just wanted to state it.
No, I know, but they
because
know,
they have a resolution in there right now.
they know
about
all about it.
Yep.
It's not the first time that,
Yeah.
so you didn't catch them by surprise.
No, but we just
it. It's okay for them to hear.
Oh, no, I'm just saying,
Yeah,
don't let
absolutely
it, it's
So that was
on
what you-
our radar.
Yeah.
Believe
Other
me.
counties spoke up, Nelson County
Yep.
spoke up, said they're having the same
Yep.
problems, that they are not getting the same service.
Yeah.
Our children are not getting the same service that they used to get when we had it at the county level.
It's a human service problem.
But the kids are the ones at risk.
The kids are the ones suffering.
Yep.
We're leaving our
They
children
try to
behind.
streamline it and things are falling through before they get to the streamline. You can ask the
We brought up
sheriff
the
or
example
the
of
state's
Ron.
attorney.
Yeah, we brought up the example that Ron had said when he used to, when they reported something, he was able to talk to a live body, know that that it was being acted on. It was being resolved.
Because it was right in the county.
Right, I said, now, our sheriff's department, whoever calls, and it's out in cyberspace and we don't know if
It goes
anything
to
ever
Devil's
gets
Lake, I believe,
handled.
doesn't it?
Devil's Lake
Yeah.
or Dickinson.
Yeah.
We've had to, I don't understand this.
Yeah.
We can't even talk to somebody about the needs in our county to talk to a
Yeah.
local person. They've lost a lot of workers from the zone that are leaving because of how things are over there. That they think it's a bad situation.
Yeah, they do too. I mean, it's,
So, yeah, it is not helping our children, the way the zone is structured right now.
And it just appalls me that these educated people didn't figure this out before they did it.
Agreed.
And let's fix it now, okay? If we tried it, it didn't work, then let's go back to the way it was.
Because we've got people's kids' lives at stake.
Right.
Just.
so Chris Jones, who was the new named commissioner, he's been the director of Health and Human Services. He resigned from his position and they are in the process of appointing a new one. So hopefully that'll all get taken care of. But yeah,
It'll take off.
that's my portfolio, that's my committee, so I've been on top of it. It's like planning and zoning. Things don't happen overnight. Believe me, a lot of us are very frustrated, so.
I think it was overall a good meeting, really.
It was a very good meeting.
Very informational.
You know, I think this was a good way to do it because we were not getting enough people.
Yeah.
They might have even been in Bismarck, but wouldn't come to the caucus meetings. We had the same 6 people coming and, well, here are the resolutions. You look through them and pass them, but no discussion because they are good resolutions. But if you had anything else to add, the people weren't there to add them. So this was a good way to do it.
Well, and it gives you time, like, to chew on it a little bit versus, you're just getting there. Because now, Aaron said too, there isn't anything other than the social Sunday night, so that if commissioners needed to come early Monday morning, they could, because that was like the only thing really.
Well, that's why they weren't coming,
Sure.
because they didn't care what the resolutions were.
Yeah.
Seriously, and then we get the same people who have to be in charge of those regions because nobody else is there to do the job, so it was good.
That was very good. Good way to do it now.
Yeah.
Starting to realize the benefits of having you in Bismarck.
And then, we're supposed to be there for 5 o'clock for the meal. It's a free meal, so don't forget to come.
That's
on
the first
Sunday.
thing on Sunday.
To Jack's, yes, yeah,
I got it.
KLJ.
yep. And they want us there, so.
Where are we staying this year?
I believe the same place as last year.
Where is he?
That was a long
I'll be at that.
Let's move on to health insurance update.
I'll send you the place where I'm
Thanks, Ron.
moving, sorry.
Really?
Tanya, you want to update us?
You can always find it.
If there's room open, yeah, I'll look.
I'll check.
Okay.
Morning, Tanya.
Yeah.
Morning, Tanya.
Good morning. I have handouts for you, but before I hand them out, I'm just gonna talk a little bit because I know how it is when you get this, your eyes start to bug out numbers and I don't want you to be distracted. I'm explaining some basics. So it's time for us to renew our health insurance plan, right? Unfortunately, we are on a really tight time schedule because of just a misunderstanding, so we have to do it by tomorrow. So this has to be decided upon today. There's a 60-day renewal window that once we sign our contract, they have to build out our whole new portal, and then they open it up for our employees to re-enroll with everything. So we're on a tight timeline. I think it'll be fine, but Christy and I sat in on a Zoom call, our Teams call yesterday, to sort of get an overview of what our options are. So MDFit, of course, is a shared risk pool, right? We're part of a big pool with a bunch of other providers. And what they did is they brought in an actuarial, last year, I think, is that what they said? So this first started in 2021. I think is we jumped on board when this first started, right? And I know that neither Christy nor Christy were here, but I was telling on the call yesterday, I remember a big selling point for you as a commission was that the really low increases, right? And now 2 years in a row, we've had pretty significant increases. So we talked a little bit about that. And when we came on board and a bunch of others came on board, of course it impacted the rates, right? And so they brought on an actuarial to break us all of the parties in the pool into 4 tiers based on our usage. So 1 being the highest usage, 4 being the lowest usage, and they spread out our increase rates accordingly. So if you were in the 4th tier, you only got an increase rate of 5 or 6%, something like that. And the top tier, I think, was like 16%, 16 point something. We were in the 2nd tier, so we were provided with a 13.77% increase is what we were originally told. So we had this meeting yesterday and talked about a bunch of options. Found out that we can decrease any of the rates that we get by 1% just by adding a wellness program. And the wellness program wasn't a big deal to add it. It was signing a contract, and it was having this, you have to have a champion, I think is the term that they use. So somebody in the county who's kind of promoting it. And I haven't even had time to talk to them, but I'm pretty sure our public health department would help us out with this, right? With the implementation of it. So we kind of said, okay, we want to do the wellness, is kind of a no-brainer, right? But in addition to just the 13.77 that they gave us, that's just keeping everything the same. That's not changing anything, okay? That's just keeping the plan that we have. We're going to take a 13.77% increase. They gave us 3 additional options. And the only thing that they changed with those options is changing our out-of-pocket max. So they bumped the out-of-pocket max up some, and they dropped that 13.77 down to 12.73. They bumped it down more, and it brought it down to 9.71, and even more, and it brought it down to 6.8, okay? So I have those options laid out for you, but then we asked them, they were really good, because we did our phone call at what time yesterday, you guys? Like 1, well, it was 2. The call started at 1, yeah, we didn't get off the phone with them until 2. And their actuary, or their underwriter kind of dropped everything for us and gave us all new numbers late yesterday afternoon. So they took the 1% off, because we said we want to do the wellness. So the rates I'm showing you include the, I grabbed a staple, so just grab one and pass it around. Include the wellness. And I show you across the very top, the very first chart that you see shows the differences in those out-of-pocket maxes. So it shows how much it changes it, okay? They also, based on our conversation yesterday, they also provided us with 80-20 coverage options. So 80-20, right now we have 90-10, right? So 80-20 is dropping the responsibility, right? Or it adds 10% responsibility to you, the employer, the user, and 80% coverage by the insurance, right? That was options 4 through 7, which I didn't even give you the whole breakdown for that, but it's on your 2nd page to show you how it impacts the percentage. I just ran out of time to do all the math for all of it, like the detailed math, because this was all spreadsheets that I was working on quickly this morning. So starting at the top, I'm going to just show you on the first page, okay? This just shows you our current out-of-pocket max. You'll see for employee only, the single plan is $3,750, $7,500. It goes down to the family is $7,500, okay? The proposed 2024 with the wellness Meaning we don't change anything, you'll see that the out-of-pocket max hasn't changed at all. That's just keeping our current plan, but we would get a 1% discount because we're adding a wellness, okay? So it would drop our increase to 12.77. And then options 1, 2, and 3, it shows you how it affects the out-of-pocket max and the percentage increase, okay? That kind of just breaks all that down for you. The second table shows you the total expenditures, meaning I didn't break it out for employee and county. It's just our total expenditures. So if we do nothing and we just take the increase with the 1% discount, it's going to be another rounding $114,000 per year, right? So our health insurance increases, our cost would be an additional $114,000 that of course we didn't budget for, I don't think, right? Because we didn't know what kind of increases we were gonna get. And then you'll see the totals, it brings it down all the way on the end, option 3, to about 52,000, okay? If we went with option 3. I did do the breakdown because I feel like it's relevant in terms of the conversation, right? To how is this gonna impact our employees? Because the kicker with increases and just taking the increase, right? Like the 12.77 increase, everybody has to pay that, right? Everybody takes a share of that, including our employees. And so if we did that 12.77 increase, the employee with spouse plan is gonna have another $76.96 per month taken out of their paycheck. That's same with family. If we go, I'm just showing you the both bookends, right? On the far end, option 3, it's gonna be about $35 per month, okay? That's how it would impact them.
And you said that's just the employee share. That
This
doesn't
is just
include
the
our
employee share, correct.
County share.
So if you go to the next page, I didn't break it down per month for the county, but this is the county impact annually, okay? So county out-of-pocket expense that we did not budget for, if we stick with our current plan, it's about $98,000. If we went all the way down, you've got the options in between, to the option 3, it's about $44,000, okay? I will say I did some really quick math, simple math, and I took a look at our current employee salaries, right? And excluding the department heads, because they're at a higher salary, the 2% COLA that you have proposed for next year equals about $90 a month for the average employee, okay? So, looking at that, you know, like if we kept our current plan and made no changes, we're looking at about $76, $77 a month is what they would have. So they're looking at what, a $12, $13 increase. Or excuse me, yeah, right, yeah, I can't, I'm not good at math, man, yeah. Difference, right? So that's all they're gonna be, you know, noticing in their, an increase in their paycheck, okay? I did, like I said, I ran out of time to do the math for everything, but on the very back page at the bottom, they gave us options 4 through 7, which parallel the other options above, right? So option 4 would be just making our plan 80-20, but not changing our out-of-pocket max. Option 5 is changing our out-of-pocket max and making it 80-20, you know, it just parallels the options 1 through, or the 4 options above, okay? And those are the percentage increases, so you can sort of draw conclusions, I guess, based on the dollar amounts above as to how that would impact everybody. I will be honest and just share my personal opinion. Unfortunately, we didn't have time, right? We haven't communicated any of this to staff. I personally kind of feel like switching to an 80-20 from a 90-10 is going to be a bigger, something that might upset staff, right? More without having communicated it to them in advance. If things had been different and we had realized that we had this timeline coming up, it would have been great if we could have said, hey, FYI, these are the options we're considering, and allow them to just, you know, voice their opinions. We just didn't have time for that, unfortunately. So I'm a little bit more uncomfortable with looking at those 80-20 policies just because I think we might more easily ruffle feathers with a change like that. But the options are there, certainly. And I mean, a 90-10 is a great policy. We switched to that when we switched to NDFID, and it's kind of a Cadillac of sorts, right? I mean, 90-10 is really good coverage. And I'm not saying I'm not happy we have that, because let's be honest, we're in a really tough employment market, right? So it's great to be able to use that as like the selling point. Salary a lot of times matters more, if I'm being honest, but it's still, I like to be able to, you know, it's a great thing for us to, great way to market ourselves, I guess. And you know, the actuarials will tell you, and the underwriters will tell you, the way plan usage works, 10% of your employees account for like 90% of your usage, you know? So a lot of times it's a handful of employees, unfortunately, right, that are driving up the cost because of whatever's happening to them in life. And so typically the majority of your employees are not high users of the policy. And so there are, in that respect, is it better to spread the cost over everybody and just take that 12.77, everybody has to pay more? Or do we bump it down and adjust those out-of-pocket maxes? And then, yes, we're just transferring the cost is what we're doing, right? Like she did a good job explaining to us yesterday that you're just transferring the cost to somebody else. But in reality, then it's maybe a little bit more in relation to the usage, right?
Yep.
And so either way, it's a bummer, right? Because I remember very well, those of you who were in the room at the time when we did this, a huge selling point to this NDFIT plan was that we had these minimal increases. When previously with our Blue Cross plan that we had alone, we had some really significant increases year after year. It was like 23% and 18%. I remember them being really high and really difficult to accommodate. And they were selling us on, it's a 3% increase or 2%, whatever. And I realized they didn't know what the plan was gonna look like when we get all these people on board. And if we are a lower use, if we're at a lower use tier, our increases wouldn't look so rough, right? It would only be about a 5% if we were on the bottom tier, but it's just not where we're at. So, but it does get adjusted every year. They look at us annually, I believe, is what I understood.
Right.
So next year, if we have a better year overall, we might be in tier 4 and have a much less increase. So that's a lot of information. Any questions?
Yeah, what's your suggestion?
So
I guess I'm not opposed personally. I don't think it's a bad idea to look at bumping it one of those other options, 1, 2, or 3, because yes, it's a bummer to look at a higher out-of-pocket max, but it seems a little bit more equitable, if I'm being honest, right? Because you've got all these people that chances are, statistics tell us that the majority of our staff might not be reaching that out-of-pocket max even at all, right? So it is not going to impact them, and we aren't making them pay more out of pocket for their premium every month, right? And so, yes, there are some that it will impact. There's no denying that. There's going to be probably a handful of employees that it will impact. That's unfortunate. It really is. But I don't think it's a bad idea to look at one of those other options personally, like, option 3, yes, your out-of-pocket max increases a lot.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Are HSAs allowed in any of these?
Not with this plan, no.
Okay.
We, Chrissy asked them yesterday in the call about high deductible plans and things like that. And they are available through NDFIT, so if we wanted to take a look at those in the future, we can. I just felt like we are under the gun, right, with timelines, because we have to sign this tomorrow. So if we did do a high deductible plan, HSAs would be one of the things that we could look at with it. And a few years back, when we went to NDFIT, we had a health insurance committee that looked through all these options. Ron was on it, Kelly was on it. JR was on it. There was a handful of us, 6 or 7. So there was 6 or 7 of us roughly. And if we wanted to pull together another committee in the future to take a look at this, I don't think that's a bad idea. I think that it's really good to just explore our options again, and we've done that more than once in the times that in the years that I've been with Walsh County, but just to reevaluate, I don't think that's a bad idea. Unfortunately, right now, it's probably a little bit late to start exploring our options, right? We need to get something signed, and so that they can start rebuilding our portal.
So what's wrong with staying with the 90/10? I'm just looking at option 2.
Yeah.
It's only gonna cost the county 66,000, out of pocket's 15, and yet still we've got a good insurance plan.
And that's, we do independent insurance and that's our out of pocket, but it's considered a high deductible, which is surprising to me. And as a health provider who doesn't use insurance, I look at health insurance more catastrophic. Cancer, car accident, big deals, surgeries, whatever.
Long term.
But an HSA is awesome.
Yeah.
Because I get money every month in there, and so then if I dentist, chiropractor, because a lot of that stuff isn't always So I definitely would agree to get something together to look at those, because I just think that's a benefit for employees.
I think Christie, you can share your experience. Christie had some interesting opinions on the high deductible herself, because you've seen both.
Yes, yeah, I had high deductible for probably, 6-7 years, and at first I hated it. But the first year's tough because you're building up your HSA. But the thing that I like the most about it is that it stayed with you, where we can have flexible spending accounts to offset this, but you lose it at the end of the year. So I was able to pay for my daughter's braces. I knew she was getting braces, so I threw an extra $250 in there. I made sure I was under the max that I could contribute. And then we just wrote a check out of that. But if you don't use it, it stays in there. So then the next year, and usually the employer puts some money into that each month as well. So then I would subtract that out of what my catastrophic, I always planned that I would max out. And hardly ever would max out. So I always had a balance left over. And my old job, I was on, quite a few calls on that, and it actually, that HSA is part of a 401k,
Yes.
retirement.
Yep.
That is why you have, rollovers, and as well as catching up. At a certain age, you actually have a higher limit that you can put in there. Because as you get older, that money will always stay with you, and you will be able to pay for your medical, all your prescriptions, as you get older, you can go into that. So, I agree with Tanya. I think that, a committee needs to be formed. If, none of us are getting younger, so I can't imagine our rates are gonna drop down, all the way to the bottom. Either way, it'll probably be double digits again, and it affects everybody regardless how you do it. It's unfortunate. I am looking at the budget, and it looks like, just quick math, we budgeted an extra like 32,000 from the previous year. So that is like an 8, maybe, real quick. Not a double digit, for sure. So we will be over on our health insurance without a doubt, regardless of how we do it. But I just felt that we did increase it a little bit.
That almost cuts that option in half.
Mr. Chairman, I guess I had studied this previously when it was brought to our attention. I listened to the videos that they had presented at that time. We hadn't talked 80-20. We need to form a committee. We need to look at other options. I don't feel we can do that to our employees this year, go to an 80-20. I just don't think we can do that. I like staying with the 90-10. But going with the higher out-of-pocket max.
Yeah.
When I studied it before, I felt strongly that we should be looking at option 3. It is a higher out-of-pocket max, but it is less of a cost to our employees. And I think the employees that are having to pay extra now because, and I don't want to pit employees against each other, but there are some employees that have different health concerns, different health issues that have to use the insurance more. And now we're asking all our employees to pay more money, right? So why not go with option 3? It's less money that the employees would have to pay out of their pocket. It is also less money the county would have to pay, but it shifts the responsibility or the burden to those employees that are using it more with the out-of-pocket max. So I guess I'm in favor of staying with the 90-10, but I'd like to see us go with option 3, which is a 5.8% increase. So that's kind of where I stand.
Initially looking at it, that was where I was going to, was option 3.
Mr. Chairman, I guess I would have to agree. I wouldn't expect somebody to pay for my usage. I think it's a fair way of doing it. And I'm not picking on anybody either. Some people have more health issues than others, but that doesn't mean the others have to pay for your, So I would agree to that.
Would you care to make a motion?
I would make a motion that our new health insurance increase, we would go with option 3, the 5.8% increase.
Second.
Motion and a second, any further discussion?
I just question, I mean, so from an HSA perspective, that would be not something that would be possible till next year then, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And I just wanted to clarify something or add to what you had said, Amy, about, you know, you were surprised seeing the 15,000, that this isn't a high deductible. I just wanted to clarify, deductibles are not changing. So the deductible itself did not change with these options. It's only the out-of-pocket max, right? And so that's why it isn't going to impact, you know, very many employees in that respect. Because if you don't ever use it that much, you're not ever going to worry about that out-of-pocket max. Deductible still apply.
Sure.
So that hasn't changed. So I just wanted to clarify that. Yeah.
Further discussion?
How come if you look at the two rates, they're the spouse and the family, how come they're the same?
Yeah, they're the same. I don't know why they're essentially the same. We have two different policy options, but the rates are the same.
Because you think of the, husband and wife, they're older, so your rates are gonna, they're gonna go to the option of going to the, going to the doctor, whereas kids are usually
just lower usage.
So they get you that way.
Yeah, PERS doesn't even bother to break it out. They just say, if you're a husband and wife, you're a family plan. Like they don't try to buffalo you to thinking that you're getting a better deal than families. They just call it a family.
I called the insurance once the kids were all on their own. I said, well, how come I'm still paying a family?
Yeah.
What do you mean her?
Yeah, that's why.
That's why.
You're probably using more insurance now, though, aren't you, Ernie?
No, we're using, well, the last, not when I changed, but now we are probably.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But not 10 years ago, when the kids left and everything, I'm going, well, how come I'm playing
They
the
look
family?
10 years down the road.
Right.
Because we gave you a break when you're young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Any
It's
further
true.
discussion on it?
Sorry, just to add, I'm sorry, even with children they can stay on the family plan until they're 26 years old.
Yeah.
So that also affects, like, as my kids get older, why wouldn't I keep them if it's gonna cost me the same for me and my husband? Why wouldn't I keep it? Which also then increases our pool as well. So, that's negatively affecting, but there's no way around it. The younger 26 and under, their employers are feeling not having any insurance coverage right now. So there's a lot of things that go into play with this, and it's unfortunate, and insurance companies have to make money, and that's what's, it's unfortunate.
everybody could just pay their own, like a lot of people too. So, I mean, this is a benefit to them.
Any further discussion? Now we'll call for the vote, Chris.
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Myself, yes, motion carried.
Okay, and I will be, assuming it's fine, I will be asking Alan if they would help us with the wellness piece of it. We don't even still know exactly what that looks like, but it does for sure include an on-site wellness screening day where they come on site and do screenings.
Aesthetics, Brandon.
Yeah.
But I don't think this year they'll have time to do that, right?
Correct, it'll be for
next year.
January of 2024, so it'll be the new renewal, because we don't have the wellness right now, and the current plan goes through December, so it'll be for next year's plan, yeah.
And there's a benefit for the employees as well. I believe they get $250 if they satisfy their portion of it as well.
Yeah.
And so there's incentives there too.
Yeah, and the only other change, I guess, we kept all of our other ancillary benefits the same. We didn't change anything, except that we were looking at the accident policy. Do you guys remember enough about how she explained that? There's something new about the accident policy. We had dropped it because we had doubled up on all these policies, and it was just really confusing for our new staff when they're coming on board, because we have all these policies through Farmers Union as well. And the accident policy through Farmers Union was better, so we dropped this one through NDFIT. However, there's a new provision in this accident policy, and it's a kind of a wellness provision, is kind of what I gathered. So if you go for a wellness screening, a colonoscopy or something, or if you have a child that goes for immunizations, it's $150 payment.
Right, up to, was it 4 or?
Yeah, so 600 total.
600 total.
Is what you could get, for just, participating in those wellness type, having a wellness appointment or. So we did look at adding that back. It doesn't cost us anything to have it offered, so.
Then I'd add that.
This all comes into play with life insurance also.
Yep, and we have the life insurance, we have double life insurance options as well. We have several options, but yes, it plays into that. You're right. It all sort of has an
I
influence
have a
on us.
story on that, but I won't share it.
I'd just like to take a minute to thank Tanya.
Yeah.
She dived into this yesterday, 1 o'clock on the conference call, and we asked her to take it on and present, and you did an excellent job, so
Yes,
thank you very much.
yes. Glad we can get it handled. So, we'll just sign then for option 3. So,
Very good.
okay, thank you.
Tanya.
Any further business for the commission? Any further business? If not,